Hey there, I'm Brad Miller, and with my Jason Medford, and we are walking the spiritual path with you today. And a lot of times for professionals, lawyers particularly, I'm sure probably accountants are the same way. We are really focused, we're really pushed, we really kind of devote ourselves to the idea of efficiency, of being productive, of being fast, of getting stuff done and accomplished. We want to get things get as much done as we can. Like, the thought being that the more efficient you are, the more you can get done, the more money you can make, and kind of the idea in the kind of a business setting. Um, and so there's a lot of pressure besides just, um, a lot of us kind of have that natural innate wanting to kind of move forward, kind of check off the box kind of task oriented kind of things, but there's a lot of pressure from outside to get more efficient. What maybe it's a boss that's trying to kind of get you more efficient. Maybe it's your clients or your customers that say, "Hey, we want you to be as efficient as possible. We're looking for, the most efficient provider." Or something like that. And so just the world is really, at least kind of right now in this age, is kind of really focused on efficiency. And as we get into things like AI, that just makes it even more so. Because one of the promises or the premises, I guess, of this AI is it's going to let you do things faster. Things that used to take you 3 hours are going to be done in, 20 minutes. So you're going to get more done, be more productive. And so that's kind of where the world is right now. It's kind of let's get stuff done. Let's be productive. Let's be efficient in what we're doing. But it kind of seems to me that the spiritual path and a lot of the spiritual things that we do almost promotes inefficiency because it's a lot less about the doing and a lot more about the being, the not doing.
Yeah.
It's not going out and rushing and doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's more of sitting in silence, listening to your intuition, looking for signs, going through a lot of these exercises or these things that we've talked about here over the last hundred and some odd episodes. And so I thought that would be, an interesting thing to talk about today is that disparity between what the rest of the world is saying that you need to be hustle, you need to be efficient, you need to be productive and all this, and the fact that kind of the spiritual path kind of causes you kind of to be inefficient and not so much productive and hustle and everything like that. So Jason is laughing and smiling, so I'm sure
I
that's
am laughing because when we start these, usually it's like, okay, what do we need to talk about today? And Brad's like, efficiency. And I didn't have him explain anymore. We just hit record,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, efficiency? How does that relate to this spiritual podcast? But I'm laughing because I'm living this too.
Mhm.
Right. And I think, as Brad mentioned, there's this drive or this push that we're supposed to be more efficient, more efficient, more efficient, more productive, more productive, more productive. Right. And we see this a lot. And so people are, they're busy, they're, focusing in on everything. And I think one thing that's interesting too is I think many of us also hinge our value as a person, our value to society based on how productive or how efficient we can be.
Mhm.
And what's interesting, productivity and efficiency are not necessarily the same thing,
Right.
right? But I think a lot of times we think we're being productive when we're not really getting a whole lot done. We're just being busy.
Yep.
And that is a big distraction. I see people spending way too much time on things like email and social media and other things where they feel like they're being productive, like, oh, I have to do this. And what's interesting is even, today is my day when I'm supposed to post something, on my Substack and my LinkedIn newsletter. And, to be productive, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? It's on my to-do list. And today I'm just like, Screw it. I don't think I'm going to do it. I didn't do it last week. I didn't do it this week. And I don't think I'm going to do it this week because I just don't feel like it. But what's funny is, I obviously, was raised this way, of being efficient, being productive, Mefford's work, you know, that was kind of ingrained in me, those Midwest farmer values. And one of the things that I have really, been challenged with is just letting things go, the not doing, the not worrying about being efficient. Because a lot of times in the spiritual realm, um, things don't go the way we want them to. We want them to, and it's on purpose because uh, it's part of the lesson. It's part of our learning is to let go some of those indoctrinations that we've been given. And since moving to Sedona, some of us that live here, we have a joke that we live in slow Dona. Not just Sedona, but it's slow Dona because time just doesn't work the same. For example, uh, I grew up in construction. I know how to do lots of stuff. And so uh, this happens many times, but this one particular one that I'm thinking of, we needed to change an outlet, a GFCI, wall plug electric outlet
Mhm.
in a kitchen of one of our friends. And so here's the three of us, and I've done this many times, right? This is a job that by myself should take 15 minutes, maybe a half an hour, right?
Mhm.
No. The three of us, it took 2 to 3 hours to change one plug.
There's a light bulb joke in here someplace, I think,
I
but
know, well, that's kind of what it is, right? It's like, how many spiritual beings does it take to change a GFCI? 3 hours, three people, 3 hours. And there were just weird thing after weird thing that happened. Like my friend that was helping me, got shocked. Right. I went in, because obviously you have to turn off the breaker.
Mhm.
And so I went in and turned off the breaker, but got shocked anyway. And it's just little things like that. Now when I was going through it, right, I could sit there and be down on myself, be thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is stupid. I can't believe this. This shouldn't be taking this long. What's wrong with me?" And go into all kinds of 3D things. Um, or, right, I could look at it instead of, well, isn't this interesting? Here we are, the three of us going through this experience. We're getting tricked. We're getting played with by the spirit and by someone who was with us, right? And it's all part of the journey. It's trying to stay in peace and stay in love as we're doing these things and not being concerned about how efficient or how productive we are because a lot of the times, like I said, it's a test in a way to see if we're going to get frustrated, if we're going to get angry, or if we're actually going to, stick with it and use our will to get through and do what needs to be done while staying in that place of peace and love the whole time.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm laughing. And I've got story after story after story about, things like this. Um, a lot with electrical. Again, some of the stuff in my house. It's like there is no way that this should be happening, but it is,
Mhm.
right? When I'm trying to do some things around the house. So, I don't know if that
Yeah.
if that's where you were going to with this, Brad, but
Yeah, like I said, there's, I've see, social media and talk with other lawyers, in particular my case, but I'm assuming it's other professionals as well, accountants or doctors, all that kind of stuff, that they're really pushed to 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 do to be efficient, to kind of hustle and all these kind of things. And we're kind of judged or looked at, or, people say, go, how much did you accomplish today? And if we don't accomplish something, XYZ off of our to-do list, then we feel less than somehow, or, we're afraid that someone's going to think less of us because we didn't get these things done. You talked about the social media posts and things that you're going to do today, and you're, on your to-do list, and you're like, yep, I just don't really feel like it you know but there's pressure. It's a societal pressure to get things done, to check things off the box, to be able to move forward. That we always need to be moving forward. I know there's different sayings like, sharks, if they stop swimming they die, all this kind of stuff, like, the kind of this society wants us to kind of keep moving and to be always active, and that's kind of how the world is set up, for us to be doing things and be productive. But again, when it comes to these spiritual practices, a lot of times it's not getting things done. It's not checking the boxes off. It's sitting there. It's doing what someone would look at you and say, you're just wasting time. You're just sitting looking at, this tree. What are you doing? You know? But there's a lot going on in that not doing of anything as you're sitting in that tree. And that I think is really can be difficult, particularly for professionals who are all got to get stuff done, got to get stuff done, got to be efficient, productive. And then we try to do something spiritual, and that goes counter to what we've been taught, counter to what makes a successful professional or what society says is going to make you successful. We kind of have to go backwards, and that I think is very tough for a lot of professionals to do in the first place, because it just feels awkward. But then to keep doing, because again, it goes against what we've kind of been taught and ingrained is how you have to, perform as that professional.
well, and the irony too is, our society teaches us that we need to be busy, we need to be
Hmm.
productive, we always need to be on as a way to distract us from the spirit. And so, the more that we are distracted, the less we're looking for the manifestations of the spirit. The more we continue to be disconnected from source, from the universe, from the spirit, right? And it's like I said, it's hard. I mean, we were joking a little bit before because I just got back from a trip, and these are always journeys for me that are spiritual journeys. It seems like I'm just driving from point A to point B, but it ain't that. Okay. And so there are weird things that happen along the way. And, as I'm looking for the manifestations of the spirit, as things are happening that could be seen as trickery of the spirit, um, I just have to go with it. I mean, in the old days, I used to be like, okay, I'm going from point A to point B, and it's this much in driving time, and
Hmm.
we're gonna be here by this time, and come hell or high water, it's gonna
Hmm.
happen, right? But it just doesn't work that way for me anymore. I've had several different experiences. Like I remember, to where now I just don't even really set expectations
Hmm.
anymore, right? So, as an example, a couple of examples that show this. This trip I was just on, we drove up, we spent the night at my sister's house, and then drove on to my dad's house. And so it's only 5 hours of driving from my sister's house to my dad's house. And so, we get up in the morning again. I mean, in the old days I would have been up and it's like, all right, it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, let's go. You
Mm-hmm.
know? No, we just kind of, I don't know what, but the morning just kind of went away and we had breakfast and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden it's 1 or 2 o'clock and we're leaving, which again, not a problem, right? 2 o'clock, 5 hour drive, even stopping, maybe that's 7 hours, get in at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so, we get up and my sister and brother-in-law, they take off in their car and they had just left. I put everything in the RV because we're driving in the RV, go to get into reverse, take the parking brake off. Beep, 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 beep. Some warning signal is going off that I've never heard before. And so it's like, okay, this is kind of weird, right? I got to figure out where this is coming from. And so it was kind of echoey inside, and so I'm up, oh, it's not coming from outside, it's inside somewhere. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? We
Mm-hmm.
spent I don't know how long, 15 minutes trying to figure out where this beep is coming from. Again, it shouldn't take that long. Finally figure out where it is. The leveling jack was getting a retraction error, which is interesting because I didn't have the jacks down, right? They haven't moved. I've
Mm-hmm.
only used them twice, maybe, right? I don't even use them. And so, retraction. So, okay, push the button, try to retract it again. Nope. Beep, 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 beep. It continues to go off, continues to go off. So I think, okay, well, let me put down the jacks and put them up again, and maybe that will stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were on an incline, and it was too much of an incline to actually put it
Ah.
down. So we had to drive over to the parking lot, near the house, and actually put it down, play with it. It would never go
Mm-hmm.
off. Ultimately, I had to take the unit out of the wall, unscrew it. And of course, I couldn't disconnect it at the unit. No, I had to try to reach my hand up inside, and these wire cables wouldn't come out, and blah, 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 because I finally just needed to disconnect it because it would not go off. So we spent an hour and a half or longer trying to fix this. I'm out there with my tools. And the whole time I could be getting frustrated, which honestly I was a little bit,
Sure.
right, with this whole thing. But I was using it again as a way to um, be in peace, be in love, no matter what conflict or challenge you're going through. Right. So it's another experience for me to practice. Anyway, so we got off later than expected. But again, hey, an hour, 2 hours, that we still got plenty of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't roll into my dad's house until after midnight. Okay. Because there was just other things that happened along the way. And so, I try not to control things. I didn't tell him I was coming or what time I would be there because I know, right, that things happen. On another trip, same thing, 3 hours of drive time. Okay, even stopping and eating, maybe 5 hours. No, I had 3 to 4 hours of missing time, literally missing time on that part of the trip. I don't know where 3 or 4 hours went. And so, again, I can get frustrated and angry about it, or I can look for the signs, figure out what's going on. What do these things mean? Right? I mean, because some of them are a test of just how am I going to deal, am I going to leak my personal power? Am I going to stay in the emotions where I need to? Am I going to be looking for the manifestations of the spirit as they come along? Am I going to learn from those, right? Or is it going to be trickery? Things like a warning light going off that should not go off because it wasn't used, right? But there's a reason for it. And so, again, it's trying to understand, well, what does that mean? Why is this happening? Right? Because
Mhm.
usually, if we're not paying attention to the manifestations of the spirit that are subtle, then we get some trickery thrown at us. At
Signs get
least,
bigger.
at least I do, right? To
Yeah.
get us to pay attention. And I'm always one to, I want to see the manifestations and understand before it ever gets to the knock or the trickery,
Hmm.
because those are sometimes like getting hit with a two before.
Hmm. So what I'm getting out of this is that I should not go on trips with you because we'll never get there.
You probably don't want to go on trips with me.
Um,
It's
a
we
3 hour
would
tour ends up
well, yeah, ends up like Gilligan's Island, right? And we're on the island and we can't get off. Um, so yeah, it's and like I said, these are just things that have started happening in my life. It's part of my path. I'm not saying this is going to happen to everybody, but there are things that are probably going on in everybody's life around this. And if you're so busy just being productive and being busy to be busy, then it's probably not going to affect you. You're not going to see it. But at the time when you decide that's not what you want to do all the time, there's a time to do that. There's a time not to do that. You're going to start to probably notice some things different. And like I said, for me, it literally took me, I'm still working on it, but a good year, at least, for me to no longer feel guilty about not doing.
yeah.
Took a long
I
time, long time.
mm,
And I'm still, it's still, on the different days. I mean, it takes me a while in the mornings. And even today, I had these good plans of what I was going to do. And sure enough, at 5:55 this morning, a whole pack of coyotes was howling on my yard, waking me up, freaking the dog out, right? Because I needed to be up at 5:55 today for some reason,
five five
right?
five.
And then I go outside and there are two ravens that are going like crazy. Right? Those are manifestations of the spirit. Did I want to get up at 5:55 today? No, because I went to bed a little later last night. But hey, it's what was supposed to happen, right? And so then I'm like, hey, I got up early. All these things that I was
Hmm.
going to do before I get on the call with Brad. Yeah, didn't happen. Didn't happen. So I can choose to beat myself up about it
Hmm.
or just roll with it. Ride the Zuvakaya. It's like being on a surfboard and just let the waves take you where the waves are going to take you. Can you go out and fight the ocean and say, no, damn it, I want a big ass wave right now? That's not how it works if you're surfing. It's anybody who's either surfed or been at the beach where there's surfers, you can see they sit out there for a long time until the right wave comes along, right? Because they can't control the ocean. They just have to ride it when it comes. And I think that's a lot what we're talking about here. It's only in a spiritual, etherical, non-physical kind of way, but it's exactly the same thing,
Hmm.
right? And so trying to be busy, trying to be productive, especially now, the more I try to make something happen, the more things keep getting thrown in my way. So, write it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've normally take longer to do things. Like I've never really been a hustle, get things done quick type of a person. Um, and I think it's kind of so for I know we talked a little bit about this before, but in human design, I'm a projector. So that means I don't have my own energy generation, like you as a generator do. I basically have to get my energy from others. So if I'm around others and there's a lot of energy around them, I can pull off that energy and I can get going. And then when that energy is gone, then I kind of crash. And I kind of have
Mhm.
to go and recharge and be with myself and not do things and then wait until I get enough till more energy comes my way. Because I just can't, and so it's affected. I had a job once doing retail and one of the things that we had to do was we had to unload the truck in the morning. So we'd load the boxes off the truck in the morning, and then we'd all be in the back and we'd unpack the boxes and we'd take the merchandise. And there was in the back there was big shelving and stuff, and everything had a particular kind of location for it. So we take the product that we got out of the box and we had to put it on the right place in the shelf. And sometimes things needed to have had some assembly, so we have to assemble things first. We had some screwdrivers, some wrenches, and things around. We just assemble things, and then they have to go on their shelf. And I was always one of the slowest people when it came to putting things together. Others would have all their stuff put together, they'd have them on the shelves and their boxes cleared, and I'd still have my group of boxes I was working at. And one time my boss was trying to get incentivize me to get go faster and see if you can get this going faster. And I just couldn't do it. Like I just could not do faster. Like I can't go fast. Like I have a slower speed than most people, it seems. And I've always been kind of feel guilty about that. I felt bad that I could not go like other people, that I needed breaks. And then like you said, when I was not doing something, I always felt like I should be doing something here. Like, why am I not checking things out the box? Why am I not being productive? Why am I not getting the things done that I've let out to be? And so I'd feel bad. And I'd feel guilty and maybe I'd angry at myself, disappointed. I mean, a lot of those low vibration things. Um, Won that. And, it's much like you've been working on forgiveness for myself, been working on realizing that it is not bad that I need time to rest. Yesterday we went and we did errands. We went out to lunch. We got groceries. My daughter is home from school for the summer, and so we went out and did some things. I did a little bit of work before we left, and I got a little bit of stuff done after we came home. But somebody might look at what I actually got accomplished during the day and say, "Wow, you got little to nothing done today." Like today, you were out and messing around, and what did you really do today, right? In the past, I feel bad about that. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I really didn't get this done and this done. I only really kind of hit this a little bit and stuff. Um, but I've been working on being okay with that. I get done what I get done. There's rarely anything that's a true emergency. And the work that I do, I don't deal with people getting arrested. I don't worry about things, I don't do work where immigration's at their door or the FBI is knocking with a warrant in hand, nothing like that that would be, have to be on like that. It's a slower type of a work, which obviously not makes sense knowing a little bit more about me, that's the kind of work that I would choose to do, something that's a little bit more laid back. But I'm okay that it takes me a little bit longer to do something. I'm not charging people by the time it takes me, so no one is being hurt that way. I'm being realistic in my the expectations I set about how long it's going to take me to get things done and back to them. I know it's going to take me a little longer, so I'll tell them, hey, it's going to take me 3 days to get back to you. Maybe I get it done in two, then even better. But at least I've got that built in that I don't feel like I need to rush. They don't feel bad if I'm sitting there, if I can't concentrate or I need to take the morning just to kind of be, um, and stuff. And so that's again for me, it's always been a thing where I've gone slower. And so it's being okay with that and allowing that and being willing to just kind of ride things and get things done as the course as they come. Um,
Well, it's interesting because as you're talking, each of us, our spiritual journeys are different because we're different people
mhm,
and we have to learn different lessons, right? And so as Brad's talking here, hey, it takes you a while to get going sometimes and you're just not as
mhm,
fast as everybody else. And so, like you said, it's about forgiveness. It's about realizing, hey, this is the way I am. It's okay. Probably one
mhm,
of the reasons why you bill project instead of by the hour for your clients too, right? So
mhm.
you personally don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, it took me 3 hours and it should have only taken me two,
Right.
sort of thing. And so that works for you, but there's lessons that you're learning,
Mhm,
about forgiveness and about self-acceptance and, realizing it's okay to be you,
mhm,
and on the flip side, I'm over here where it's like, I'm kind of a daydreamer. I don't like to be rushed.
mhm.
If people try to rush me, if people try to tell me I have to do something, oh no, you're gonna have a fight on your hands, right?
Mhm,
But when I act very quickly. And so, I'll warn people that I'm in relationships with. I'm like, don't ask me to do something unless you're sure you want me to do it, because it's going to be done before you come back and go, oh, just kidding. It's like, nah, already
Nope, already
done,
done. Yeah.
already done. Right. So don't come to me with something unless you want it done and you want it done now. Now, I may take my time to do it. I may wait and because again, that's my personality as well. But when I'm ready to go, I act and I act very quickly. I may sit on something for 6 months, kind of thinking about it, figuring out which way I'd like to go. What are some of the different options, right? How could I co-create this? What do I really want out of this? But then when I decide, I go and
Mhm,
I'm done. Now, sometimes it takes me longer than I thought it was going to. And so my lessons are about, again, my value has nothing to do with how long it takes me to do something.
mhm,
I can't control things. I shouldn't try to control things. I shouldn't have expectations. When I get frustrated, I can get angry, right? When I was a young man, I used to have outbursts. I I did some really stupid things, when I would get frustrated, and sometimes that would come out violently. I broke my hand one time because of that. Um, you know, uh, so those are lessons that I'm having to learn and to be more aware and focus on the messages that are coming through, the
mhm,
manifestations of the spirit that are coming. What am I supposed to learn from this? Oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder why this is happening.
mhm,
And the whole time having that peace um, and love through conflict, which again, like I told you, this last trip, there were several different things that happened. A few of them I lost my cool on. But as soon as I realized it,
mhm,
then I go back and I fix it, you know. And for the most part, I would say, hey, 90 to 95% of the time, I was good.
mhm.
It was only that 5 or 10% of the time when I lost my shed, shortly. But then
Mhm.
you just have to, again, when you become aware of it, you course
Right.
correct, you do better. You don't beat yourself up over it, right? Because then, I mean, you know, it's like being in school and you take a test, right? And it comes back, you get a 95% on your exam. Well, most people would be like, yeah, I got an A. But then there's the people that are like, well, what happened to the 5%? Why'd you get those 5% wrong? And so
Mhm.
it depends on which side we're looking at. So are we going to beat ourselves up for missing 5% of the questions, for not doing everything we wanted to 5% of the time? Are we going to beat ourselves up over that? Or are we going to stay in the right frame of mind and say, hey, 95%? That ain't bad. That's
Mhm.
pretty good. If I can do 95% every single day, that's way better. That's an A.
Mhm.
But if I choose to beat myself up over it, to get angry, to get frustrated because of the 5%, then I blow. I blow what I've done, right? Because instead
Mhm.
of feeling gratitude and joy of, yes, I got a 95, the 5% causes many people to get into, horrible places, anger, frustration, pity, oh, why didn't I get those five right? And so, again, it's all part of it. They're all little things. And
Mhm.
this is what, people, I hope people are getting this from us talking. Most of the people out there that teach spirituality will tell you got to meditate this amount of time and you got to do this and do that and do this and do that. And then they never apply it in their life. It's more important to do the little things in your life every single day than it is to run off to an ashram and meditate for 2 weeks, or go on a vow of silence or other stuff. It's like that episode we did about flipping people off in the church parking lot. It's more important to do the little things right throughout your whole day because ultimately, um, that's what it's about. It's not about all the other, big things. It's about living every present moment the best we can. Sometimes we make mistakes. That's okay. Right. But can we forgive ourselves? Can we move on? Can we make that next present moment what it needs to be? Because they're all little things.
Mhm.
It's all little things that so much of the time, people, if they came to me and were like, Jason, how do I become a spiritual person? Well, let me tell you, you got to pay me $100,000 and you come to a 2 week retreat with me. And when you do that, I'm going to have you do these different things for the 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, ah, you're going to be enlightened and you're going to be a spiritual guru. And there are so many people out there that will pick that up and run with that. Oh my God, if I go to this 2 week thing, if I pay this person $100,000, then I'm going to be enlightened. But instead, the real work is why don't you bless the water every time you come in contact with water? What if you connect with spirit? Connect with inanimate objects, sentient beings that are around you. What if you show unconditional love to the people who you don't really like? What if you do these little things? That's the real work. But it takes consistency. It takes us doing it. That's how it comes. But it's so simple that most people discount it and say, "Oh no, see this person over here, they're telling me if I go to their 2 week retreat, then that's what it's going to be. It's a pill. All I have to do is pay the money and do 2 weeks. Let me do that." When the real, all the ways the masters have taught in ancient tradition, in every single tradition that's out there, it's the small and simple things done consistently every day, getting a little bit better every day. But that's not sexy.
Right.
And damn it, that takes work. That
Yeah.
means every time I go get in my car or my RV and I go on a trip, there's going to be things I got to deal with,
Mhm.
you know, relationships that I have, other things that are going on. Hey, every day I'm going to have to do something about them. Boy, they're simple, but they're not easy,
Mhm.
right? And that's, anyway, I went off a little bit there, but, I think that encapsulates a lot of what we're talking about here. Yeah, would it be efficient or would it be productive to only have to spend 2 weeks on this and pay somebody a lot of money and just be really focused for 2 weeks? Boy, that would be efficient, wouldn't it? That'd be productive. Because then
Mhm.
look at all the rest. That's only 2 weeks out of the whole 52 weeks. Then I got 50 weeks to go and make
Be
lots of
enlightened.
money, make
Yeah.
lots of money and screw people and do everything else, right? Because I was a good boy for 2 weeks. Well, that might be productive and efficient, but that's not how it actually works. So,
Yeah. No, I've seen people advertise, you know, most time I see like, a 7-week course or something where you pay your money and you spend whenever these videos or they're having a Zoom meetings or something like that with them, and you'll sit there and they'll give you teachings or something, and or they'll give you meditations and stuff that you could do. And I don't even know, for the low price of 99.99 or whatever it ends up being. Um, and yeah, it's all about people want the steps, they want a process, they want the ABCs, because then they can check off the boxes and say, "Look, I did this and this and this," and it feels good because they can say, "Look, I've done something. Look, A, B, C, D. I've checked all these boxes off. That's me moving forward. Like that's a sign of growth, right? That I can show what I can do off these boxes." And again, that's great if you want to show, how many widgets you made last week. Um, you know, but that's not the path to spiritual growth.
mhm.
That's not going to get you the spiritual stuff that you're trying to.
Well, and it just lines up with that indoctrination that people have about
Mhm.
productivity and efficiency and just pay a little bit of money and everything is fine. That's what our society has become.
Mhm.
But, again, don't believe us, but just think on, some of the ancient traditions. Can you imagine, people going to Buddha and he's like, "Hey, for the low price of $10,000, you know, if you come with me on this 2 week excursion, blah 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 blah." No. Can you imagine Jesus? Same thing. It's like he gets up on the Sermon of the Mount and he does all this preaching. And then afterwards he goes, "All right, now all of you meek of the earth, follow me. Bring your money, and in a month I will, enlighten you." That's not how it works, right? Go to any, shamanistic ancient native tradition. No, that's not how it works, right? You get taught, but the growth comes from you doing the work. That's the only way it comes. You can get the lists of whatever you want to get. You can watch all the videos, but if you don't do the work, you don't get the results. You know, it's, when you go on a spirit quest, when they would send, young native boys out in the wild and they would encounter all kinds of things, right? Sometimes they would encounter wild animals that they had to fend off, right? As part of this quest, but they have to do the work,
Mhm.
and it's no different with any of us. That's why you can't do it in 2 weeks. It's every single day that these things have to go. But the real teachings are so simple that most people just discount them,
Mhm.
and I've seen people who have had contact with my benefactor and they leave, because I want you to tell me something. I want you to give me A, B, C, D. I want you to, and it's like, that's not how it works. If I ask you a question, I want a detailed A, B, C, D answer. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's more like the Socratic method. You can ask all the questions you want. And it's not that you don't get an answer, but you get an appropriate answer. But every question leads to another question as well. And so, unless we're doing the work and earning it for ourselves, we don't we don't appreciate it.
Hmm.
That's part of the reason. I mean, there's the thing in professional development called, you don't if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And we're talking about
Hmm.
money in that way, but it's true. But it's the same even if you're not paying money. If you don't pay, if you don't do the work,
Skin in the game.
no skin in the game, you're not going to get the results. You don't do your push-ups. Hey, I got a list over here that says if I do 25 push-ups a day, then I'm going to be right. Because I went to some training and somebody told me if I do these 5 exercises a day, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to be fit and I'm going to live to be 100. And so I pay them money and they give me the list. And maybe the list is right, maybe it's not. I don't know. But if you just pay the money and you don't do the push-ups and you don't do whatever, you're still eating, Big Macs and Cokes all day every day. Well, I don't care how many push-ups you do. I don't care how many miles you run. If you're eating a bunch of junk food, it ain't gonna work, right? Because it's all together. Anyway, I don't know if that made any sense.
It made sense. Yeah. No, it did. It did. And
At
again,
least
sometimes we
that,
just go where it takes us, and that's where it.
yeah, and that's the path that I've been on. And like I said, it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
It's not for everybody, and that's
Mhm.
fine. If you want to take the easy route, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. you know we're just here to share what we're doing and how we understand it and what we're going through because some of you are probably going through the same things as well.
All 12 of you that watch us. So
Or whatever number it is, right?
it varies. Some days it's 10, other days it's 20. It just, yeah, it just depends on the day. If it's, Blue Monday or whatever it might be, it just changes. So,
That's a private joke from before we hit record. Anyway,
so yeah, efficiency may be great in the 3D world, not maybe going to get you where you want to go here in the spiritual
yeah,
path. So,
and that's okay because like I said, it's part of the learning and the indoctrination and belief breaking
mm,
that we have to do. It's built into society that way on purpose,
mhm,
right? Because it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow if we choose to move past it. If we don't, then that's fine. We just stay where we are, and that's okay too. But it's a learning opportunity. It is an opportunity. But like I said, sometimes it's kind of tough to change those beliefs. I told you it took me over a year to not beat
mhm,
myself up and feel guilty. And it still creeps in every so
right.
often. So I have to continue to keep battling that as it comes up. So
Mhm. And those are the battles we'll keep fighting. I mean, I don't think we'll ever fully beat it. There'll always be something there to kind of bring back that I think part of the path is becoming aware of this stuff and be able to move past it faster. It's be able to see it coming and then, push it down.
well, yeah, when you get the one lesson, you realize it's an abyss and there's more to it. You think
Yeah.
you understand a concept and you evolve, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it didn't mean what I thought it meant back then. It means something else. And
There's a lot of
6 months,
iceberg under the
and
water.
then 6 months or a year later, it's like, whoa, that means something totally different, right? Because that's the thing is these things are so simple in words, simple in actions, exercises, practices, whatever you want to call it, that build upon each other. And so we're never done because we're always learning.
Hmm.
And the simplest phrases even can be so profound, when we actually dig in and do it. But you got to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, with that, we will wrap up for today. Thank you guys for joining us. Obviously, this was not a very efficient episode, but
well, we would have done it in like 90 seconds if that were the case, right? But
yeah, but I mean, at this point, you've probably seen enough episodes to know that, efficiency is not really our thing. We get where we get, and it takes us however long it takes us to get there, and normally it's right about 45 minutes. But that is what it is. So, but anyway, thank you guys for listening. We do appreciate you, and hope that you've taken a nugget, a chunk, something out of here that you can apply towards your own spiritual journey.
with that, we'll see everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you guys.